What is up, everyone? It is I, DPX. Welcome to the return of DPX Talks for about an hour. It is episode 60. I haven't done an episode in quite a bit. I missed October, November, and December. But we're back. Before we get into the topics, I want to talk about that for a little bit. I guess it's just you miss 1 month. October was a very busy month for me. You know, there's a lot of games that came out, a lot of the stuff I was reviewing that month. Plus, I was working on the big episode of Solo Missions that month as well. So that was pretty big. And that took me almost the whole month to do. And, I was just like, okay, I won't do an episode of the podcast this month. I'll do it next month. And I didn't do it that month or the month after. December especially was also pretty busy because I was working on What's Missed that whole month as well, basically. But I guess it's just when you don't do it once, you skip. You have a routine, you have a pattern, it's like you do it once a month, right? But then you skip a month, and then it kind of just feels like, okay, well, shit, I'm kind of used to not doing it, but we're back. I've been trying to get more episodes out in 1 month, doing the usual news episode, but then maybe get, another sort of episode, every April, I do a WrestleMania recap, Stuff like that, not wrestling necessarily, but I'll do some spoiler talks for shows or movies that come out, some games. Maybe I can do one for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I actually did do a spoiler talk for Remake. It wasn't a podcast, it was a video, but maybe I can do one for Rebirth, even if it's by myself. So yeah, I'm trying my best to do more and keep the pattern going. There are certain episodes that I promise to you guys a lot and they don't end up happening because I backtrack on them, and I'm sorry about that, but it's I'm learning to not make any announcements, to not promise anything if I can't follow through on them. So yeah. I have some topics here. The first of which I want to talk about is actually kind of a yearly video that I've been doing. You might have noticed that it hasn't happened this year yet. I do my usual video game lists, my top 10 best games of the year. This past year was a top 15, which, by the way, thank you guys so much for all the views on that one. And then I also do the worst/most disappointing games of the year. I do my most anticipated games of the year, of the next year, and I also do my end of year movie ranking. Again, all of them did very well, so thank you so much for showing up to those. I had a lot of fun making them. I always look forward to those lists. But one of the lists I do, kind of like how I make a tier list of all the movies I've seen, I do a tier list of all the shows that I've seen. But I didn't do that this time, and I figured I didn't see too many shows, or there weren't enough shows that I there's two that had half a season come out, and I'm not sure if it's fair to rank them. And there was two that I started watching but didn't finish. There's three actually that I started watching and didn't finish, for different reasons. So overall, there's only 8 shows, or 8 seasons of shows, I guess, that I could rank. So instead of doing a tier list video, that's gonna be the first topic of today's episode, is me ranking all the shows I've seen in 2023 from the worst to the best. Now, before I even really get into the ranking, here are the 5 shows that either aren't finished or I haven't finished them. The 2 that only had half the season come out. We'll do alphabetical order. Starting off with Chucky Season 3. Sorry about that pause, but yeah, we're starting off with Chucky Season 3. Again, is only half the season. The first 4 episodes out of what it would normally be an 8-episode season, they didn't get to finish the season because of the writer's strike and the actor. No, it's mostly the actor's strike that held them back, I think. I really liked the first season of the Chucky show. I didn't really like the second season so much. There were some interesting ideas, but a lot of the it was just too silly, too goofy, and yeah, so I was unsure about season 3, but season 3 came out and it's a lot more serious, it's a lot darker, I thought it was a little stupid at first to have Chucky in the White House, because, how did he get there? How does nobody, possibly the most highly secured place in the whole world, at least in the country, at least, but I thought, I think that was a nice new setting for the show, but it does still get goofy sometimes. And especially when Jennifer Tilly's character shows up, who's Tiffany Valentine, but also not Tiffany Valentine, is also Jennifer Tilly, the actress is playing herself. It's so weird. But look, she's definitely, an iconic character to the franchise, and she's also, she's great and all as, her performance, but my god, I want, you need to kill this character off. It's a fucking cartoon with her on there. It really is that bad. But overall, I think Chucky Season 3, Part 1, at least, is pretty solid. The other show that only got half the season released is Invincible Season 2. Now, unlike Chucky Season 3, I didn't review Invincible Season 2, because the timing of that didn't really line up. I was deep into working on What's Miss, and there's some other stuff going on. I had a bunch of schoolwork to do, so I didn't review Invincible Season 2. Invincible Season 2 was great. I think it did a great job, catching us up on Mark, after what happened in Season 1, and, it just, I don't have much to say about it negative. It was pretty solid. And then the 3 shows that I started watching but didn't finish. The Bad Batch Season 2. It was over a year ago at this point where I watched those first 2 episodes that dropped, and I don't remember anything. Not that those 2 episodes were bad, which is why I didn't watch them. It's the rest of the season. I just did not get around to watching the rest of the season. So yeah, another show that I did not, I started but did not finish was Scott Pilgrim Takes Off. I'm a little upset that I didn't finish this because I love Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. That movie is a masterpiece. And I was really excited for this show. And I watched the first few episodes and I didn't hate it, it wasn't bad. But the direction they took it was very odd, you know what I mean? It doesn't follow the book, and it doesn't follow the movie, which is fine, you want to take a different, it's a different take, and that's cool, but, specifically with Ramona and Scott himself, they do something with the villains, which I think is interesting. But with Scott and Ramona, what they do with them in particular, I got 3 or 4 episodes in, I do plan to finish it eventually, I'm not abandoning it. Maybe my opinion on the show will change, but from where I left off, I do not, I don't think the way they took the season or the show worked for me at all. And lastly, a show called Dark Side of the Ring. It's this Vice documentary series about basically wrestling stories. And the only reason I did not finish this season is because they took a mid-season break, and I did not know that they finished the second half of the season until very recently. They, the first half of the season started in, May and finished sometime in, June. And I think they, got the second half of the season sometime in like August or something like that, and I didn't know about it. I just completely flew under my radar. So yeah, maybe I'll catch up on them eventually. Season 4 is coming out in like a couple months, which I'm excited for. But yeah, those are the 5 shows that either are not finished or I have not finished. I don't think it would be fair to rank them, among shows that I've seen, like, at least entire seasons of. But now, I'm going to give you my ranking of all the 8 shows that I finished. Now, keep in mind, there are some, like, probably some of the best shows, like, probably some of your favorite shows that you guys have seen are not on this list, because I did not watch them. Specifically, like, Blue-Eyed Samurai, I've heard a lot of people, raving about that show. I even talked about that, I think, on the last episode, where the trailer of that dropped in that Netflix Drop 01 thing with all their animated shows. And I seemed excited for it. I haven't gotten around to it, though. I will watch it. Same with, like, Succession, that's a show I've been thinking about watching. So, yeah. These are the 8 shows that I have watched. From worst to best. Number 8, Secret Invasion. This, like, look, I didn't think it was all bad, Like, I thought the setup and the beginning was interesting. But my god, like, it meandered in the middle. And then the end. The finale honestly eclipses anything good the show had. The finale is so bad. It really is that bad. Like, you might have heard people, like, talking about how bad it is. It is. It is that bad. And it's just, like, you create the most ridiculously overpowered character in the entire MCU. You know what I mean? It just, like, and they didn't even, like, think about that. It really is that bad, I want to make this quick, so. Yeah, number 7, so Secret Invasion is a bad show, I feel. The next, I don't think are bad. The 7th, number 7 is more disappointing and kind of mid, but not bad. And that is The Mandalorian Season 3. I love the first season of The Mandalorian. I love the second season of The Mandalorian. Season 3, again, it started off fine. The first episode wasn't anything too bad, but it just has, like, some of the worst stuff we've seen, like, in Star Wars. Like, the episode where they go to that planet with Jack Black and Lizzo, you know what I mean? Like, Lizzo, say what you want about her, she might not be of that likable of a person with everything that's come out about her, but, like, judging her performance, like, she's not a particularly good performer, It's kind of just, she's just Lizzo. And Jack Black, who I normally like, is just there. It, like, it takes you out almost. It feels like stunt casting. It's like, oh, that's Jack Black. And you don't see whatever character he's playing. You just see Jack Black. Christopher Lloyd, I believe, is also in one of the episodes, and he's also not particularly that great. It's just Christopher Lloyd there. I normally like him, but yeah, he's just not. And then there's silly loopholes in the season. Like, you have a good setup where Bo-Katan needs the Darksaber. Din, Mando has the Darksaber. But, and Bo-Katan and Din are friends, but in order for Bo-Katan to get the Darksaber, she needs to beat someone in a duel. Will she fight her friend? That's an interesting setup, but they solved that through a loophole, and it's so stupid. So yeah, like, a lot of the first 2 seasons, like, avoided a lot of the shit this season did, and it's frustrating. Number 6, another Star Wars show, Ahsoka. This, I've seen 2 sides of the coin. People, I feel like, have unfairly criticized this as, like, the worst thing ever conceived by man, and so many people I've seen gas this up as the second coming of Christ. I don't think it's either. I think it's mid, there's some good ideas in here, but they're not executed too well. Like, the strongest part of it is the stuff with Balin and his Padawan. I forget her name, but like, the late great Ray Stevenson plays Balin to perfection, and I want them to revisit the character, even if that means they're gonna have to recast. But like, I want to explore more about this character, because this, like, he's such an interesting character. And then, but Ahsoka, like, herself, like, Rosario Dawson, I think, is usually great as Ahsoka, but the way her performance just is, the type of performance she does, I'm not saying her performance is bad, but the type of performance she does, I don't think works for this show. You also keep doing this bullshit where, like, a character gets stabbed by a lightsaber and they're just fine. It's frustrating. Overall, I don't think it's that bad, but it's also not that good. Number 5 is a show that kind of should have been really bad, but it is pretty good. Twisted Metal. This one was a surprise to me. This one, like, I have no idea how this ended up being anywhere as good. A lot of the stuff they showed just looked awful. They showed a clip of the show at Summer Games Fest, and they showed, like, the worst and most unfunny part of the entire season without context, so it was even worse when they showed it. But Anthony Mackie is pretty good as John Doe, like, that's his name, John Doe, and I think they do the humor right for the most part. Some, like, there's the carnage that I really enjoyed. Some of the stuff I didn't like, John has a romance with this other character who goes by Quiet, but they, I don't know, like, they keep going back and forth, and it's like, to the point where it's frustrating, But yeah, overall, much better show than it had any right being. Number 4 is a show I actually haven't talked about, and it's a show called Wrestlers. What this is like a documentary, but also kind of like a drama, where Al Snow, who's this beloved wrestler, he has this promotion called Ohio Valley Wrestling, and it's struggling, and he's trying to, like, get people to go, it's always kind of like an underdog story in a way. And yeah, I find out about this wrestling promotion that I didn't really know much about. Like, I had heard of Ohio Valley Wrestling, but I didn't know much about it until this show. And yeah, it's a good watch. I'll say that. Number 3, Castlevania Nocturne. This is like sort of like a sequel series, but also, like, not really directly tied to the Castlevania Netflix series, which I really like. And this was really good. There are some issues, but not too bad. I'm really excited to see where it goes. That's what I'm more excited for. Number 2 is Loki Season 2. The Loki show continues to prove that it is the best show on Disney+. The best Marvel show on Disney+, I should say. I think Star Wars has it beat in a few places, but yeah, Loki, like, has an arc in this. The show, it makes the show feel necessary. A lot of the Marvel Disney Plus shows felt like content. Like Secret Invasion, I don't think needed to happen. That kind of feels like content. Loki, like, you gave Loki an arc, and I was, like, unsure, like, about bringing back Loki after his sacrifice in Infinity War, but this brought it around, which I thought was great. And number 1, The Last of Us. The best video game adaptation, bar none. And the way you do that is by faithfully adapting the the source material. And the changes you make are necessary changes. You know? I'm so happy that this got a lot of award buzz, because it deserves it. It deserves the awards consideration that it's getting. And yeah, that is my ranking of all the shows I saw in 2023. Now we can move on from 2023. I'm done ranking stuff from 2023. But yeah, moving on. A new game came out on Friday. At the time, it's Monday, January 21st at the time recording this. So 3 days ago, on January 19th, but today's not Monday, today's Sunday, I'm fucking stupid. 2 days ago, on January 19th, a game called Palworld came out, said to be Pokemon with guns. You know, it is like a Pokemon-inspired game, and it's also like survival. It's a survival game, you know. So it's similar to Ark, similar to like the survival mode in Minecraft, where like you craft stuff, you know, and the open world is massive. It's almost like Arceus. It's not particularly like Pokemon, like the mainline Pokemon games. It's like Pokemon Legends Arceus, you know. As someone who's not a big fan of Pokemon, I was very interested in Arceus because it seemed different, you know. And I never got around to playing it, but I played Palworld because it was free on Game Pass, and I think a lot of people. No, what do I mean? I think I know a lot of people played Palworld. It has become like, I think the seventh, like most like highest peak player count on Steam. And it surpassed like 4 million. Like 4 million purchases in like. The game came out 2 days ago at the time of recording. 2 days ago! That's insane! So yeah, like, it is huge. And why is this? I'm gonna give you my opinion on the game in a little bit. But I want to talk about why is this. Why did Palworld do so well? Because there are a lot of Pokemon likes that come out, you know. Think about Temtem. That's the only other one I can think of, like recently at least, that took off, at least for a little bit. Temtem, I remember Temtem, like people were calling this the Pokemon killer, and then like, but it was in early access, which Palworld is early access, by the way. But Temtem came out in early access. People called it the Pokemon killer, and yeah, I think a couple years passed, it came out, like, a full version came out, and nobody gave a shit. In fact, I think it got some negative reviews. So, I don't know what happened there, but, like, this is crazy. This is, like, Palworld is crazy. You know, with 4 million purchases or downloads in 2 days. I don't even know if it's, like, I don't know if that really counts the people who got it on Game Pass. Like, it's free on Game Pass, and Game Pass, well, actually isn't as successful as you probably think it is, but it's still on Game Pass. It's still people who got it for free. You know, you gotta that's gotta count for something. And why is this? I can't tell you. Yeah, I don't know. It's rare that I, like, try to figure something out like this, and I just don't know. I don't know why, I think it's just, it might just be the idea of Pokemon with guns. Right? That might have gotten people interested. And also, Pokemon's been, so, I just said I don't know, but I think I'm coming up with something as I speak. Pokemon's been in sort of, I don't want to say a decline, necessarily, because it's still popular, it's still selling. But Pokemon's been mid, you know. The last Pokemon game, Scarlet and Violet, from what I've heard, I'm not a Pokemon guy, by the way, but from what I've heard, people like the base game, but it was released in an unacceptable state, right? And so, but before that, it was like, it was just the same formula every time. So I think it's just people want an alternative to Pokemon combined with Pokemon with guns. Just being really just like something that just sounds cool, and it sounds like it shouldn't be real, but it's real. And yeah, I also, it's somewhat like of a multiplayer game, I believe, and I think that is that's a popular, that makes it popular, I feel. Now, what do I think of the game? Because I played it, and full transparency, full disclosure, I'm not a Pokemon guy. I don't think I like it that much. Not because I don't necessarily like what they're doing. It's early access, so it can get better. And I'm also, like, feel like I haven't gone that far in the game, so I'm not giving up on it, but I just think it's kind of boring, you know? I've tried crafting, I've done that. That takes, like, extremely long, and it's also kind of clunky. I'm playing on Xbox, by the way, and I heard that that's not the best way to play the game. The best way to play the game is on PC, but, you know, it's free on Game Pass, and also I can, I'm not really a PC gamer, and I don't have a good enough PC, so, yeah, so I got on Game Pass. Like, last time I played, there was a glitch that happened where I couldn't move. My character, like, I was able, like, the control stick that I was moving, that would normally move my character, instead it was just rotating the character around. It was just, the guy was just spinning. It's so weird. And, like, fast travel's a little odd. You can only, like, do fast travel, like, in certain areas. When the game reloads you after you die, it's weird. I don't know. Like, I don't think the game's clicking for me. But yeah, that's Palworld, and it's doing really well. That's my thoughts on Palworld. It's making gangbusters. You know, it's gotten the success that, like, not too many games have. You know, there'll be like 1, 2, 3 games a year that blow up like this, and Palworld, I guess, is one of them for 2024. What do you guys think about Palworld? Have you guys played it? And if you have, do you like it, or is it not clicking for you? Let me know. Next up, Microsoft, Xbox. My opinion, the third of the big three: Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox. And that's not a knock on them. I mean, it is kind of. One of the lights just went out. Fuck. So yeah, one of the lights went out. I just said that, but yeah, I'm not like saying that to shit on Xbox. That they're number 3 of the big 3. I'm not saying that just to shit on them. But like objectively, like, I love all 3. I have all 3. I don't just have all 3 just to hate on one of them. No, like, I have all 3 because I like all 3. Objectively, the Xbox does not have that many games. You know, they're starting to ramp it up, but, like, you look at PlayStation with Spider-Man and God of War and Horizon, you know, and even, like, Final Fantasy, which, like, often shouldn't be, like, in some cases should not be exclusive, but still, like, that's still something. And then you look at Nintendo with, like, Mario and Zelda and Smash, you know, and, like, other stuff, like Pikmin 4 I've not played yet, but, like, so many people are saying that's better than Mario Wonder and Tears of the Kingdom, you know? So I think Microsoft, like, hasn't really done. And last year, you know, they put out Starfield, which was supposed to be a big game, but it's kind of mixed. I feel like there's some revisionist history with that game. When that game first came out, it was more mixed. It wasn't so much like it was trash. Now it's the reception the consensus is that the game is awful. It's not that bad, but it's not that good either. But they came out with a developer direct, and last year when they did that, that was when they shadow dropped Hi-Fi Rush, and also everything, from what I can remember, everything talked about in that developer direct was, like, ended up coming out that year. So I think when they do these developer directs, I think that is, like, Microsoft saying, like, here, this is everything we have. Like, all these games are going to come out this year, and maybe one gets delayed, but, like, most of them at least come out this year. But we have a developer direct. 45 minutes. And starting off with Avowed, this looks amazing. You know, I think Obsidian are great. You know, they're kind of like... They kind of seem like, okay, so we're not working with Bethesda anymore. So, I guess we'll just make our own Bethesda games. Like, The Outer Worlds is like their take on Fallout, almost. Avowed is like their take on Elder Scrolls. And, you know, I think it's great. It looks great. You know, I like the visual style. There's even, like, obviously you got the sword, but then there's, like, wand. You can use a wand, a magic wand, and cast spells. There's a gun in it, too. It looks great. I'm excited for Avowed. What we didn't... I feel like the showing of the game, though, even though the game looks cool and all, I don't think was necessarily... I don't think the game itself... Or the showing of the game... The showcase of the game was anything too special. I don't know. But yeah, I'm excited for Avowed. It comes out in fall 2024. Next up is a game I feel like we've been waiting on for a while. Ninja Theory's Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. The sequel to Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. I think this also looks great. This looks like a next-gen experience. You know, the visuals look outstanding. All the sound design, like, they showed us, like, what it's like to create the sound design, to create the sound for the game. And I think that's going to come into play like crazy. And yeah, I think it looks great. Here's the thing. They announced that it's digital only, and it's going to be $50 as opposed to like $60 or $70. It's going to be 8 hours long. Which means it's like a bit more of like a budget, smaller title. Which has me wondering... If that's the case, how has this been in development for so long? Like, I thought this was going to be, like, a big upgrade. Like, a big, like a big, maybe 15-hour. Like, maybe not, like, a 30-hour. Maybe not that. That might be pushing it. But, like, a big 15-hour single-player game. And I don't... Like, that's a bit odd. And especially since it's digital only, like, I was gonna, like, look, okay, I am a physical guy. I collect physical games unless they're on Game Pass, you know. Then I just get them on Game Pass because it's free. But, so I was gonna get the digital version of this game anyways, but I just find it odd that they're doing a digital only version if the game's cheap. If the game's like $50, especially since the first game had a physical. I guess the reason this game took so long to come out, if it's a small game, is because like all the technical stuff seems top notch. You know, that was probably it. Next up, we got a game that was not announced to be there ahead of time. A challenger approaches. Whoop. Unknown user guessed. It is Square Enix. Square Enix showing up. Yeah. Was not expecting that. And they show up with the new Mana game, Visions of Mana, which was announced back at the Game Awards last month. This game looks great. You know, I'm a fan of JRPGs. You know, I've grown to like them. They weren't initially my favorite genre of video games, but now they are probably one of my favorites. And Visions of Mana, I think, just looks like the combat looks great with, like, you know, just what they showed, and I think the visuals look great. Like, you have somewhat of like an open world, it looks like, as well, which looks really cool. And yeah, and this is the first time a Mana game is coming to Xbox, which I think is awesome. I was expecting maybe like an announcement that it's coming to Game Pass day one. I don't know if it will, but if that happens, like, that's a big get for Game Pass, because that's like that. Like, I think it's become one of my most anticipated games of the year. Not my most anticipated game of the year, probably not even in my top 5, but, like, you know, seeing more of the game, I would probably revisit my top 10 list that I made at the beginning of the year. Next up is a game by Oxide Games that Microsoft are just publishing. Aura History Untold. It's a game that's going to be kind of like Civ, and I'm going to be honest, I don't really care. I never really played Civ, and it kind of seems like one of those games that I just don't have interest in. I kind of tuned out at this. It's not like the show started to meander a little bit. It was just, I'm not the biggest fan of this type of game. So, I'm going to move on to the highlight. The highlight is Machine Games' Indiana Jones game. You know, a while back it was announced that Machine Games were working on an Indiana Jones game, and now we get to see it. It is Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. I think this looks great. Like, visually, I think it looks awesome. And with the combat, like the whip, and there's also a gun, you can use the whip to distract enemies, to attack them, of course. I think it looks great. There's some controversy around the game, which I think is kind of overblown, to be honest. And it's between, it's like, it has to do with the game being in first person as opposed to third person. And I feel like, yeah, I guess like a third person game would probably be what I would prefer, but at the same time, you want a third person Indiana Jones game, play Tomb Raider or play Uncharted, because then the game being in third person, I feel like would make it an Uncharted clone, which is heavily inspired by Tomb Raider. So you get the you already have the comparisons to Tomb Raider and Uncharted, which I believe those two games already took inspiration from Indiana Jones, you know, the concept. So, you know, it sets itself apart by being in first person. Plus, you know, when they did it in third person, they did this type of game in third person, was The Emperor's Tomb, which I know a lot of people seem to like. I didn't hate it, but I feel like it's a bit clunky, you know. Same with Staff of Kings. That game's a bit clunky. Not terrible, but, you know, not the best. So I think, plus Machine Games, I feel like I want it to be in third person, but Machine Games make games in first person. You know, like their claim to fame is the Wolfenstein games. That's like an iconic first person shooter. So yeah, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle looks great. Comes out it's has a window of 2024. I forgot to mention the release. Only one game here got like an actual date. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 got a date of like May 21st, I believe. I'm kind of surprised it's not coming out in like Q1 of this year. I don't think Xbox has a single game coming out in Q1. Visions of Mana is going to be summer. Aura History Untold, I think, was either summer or fall. And Indiana Jones and the Great Circle just has a window of 2024. I'm going to be honest, I think all these games are making this their release windows. I think they're all going to come out this year, you know? Obviously, like, Visions of Mana is not Xbox. You know, they just partnered with Square Enix to have them show Visions of Mana. But, like, I think, like, we're definitely getting Hellblade this year. That's definitely happening. I think we're getting Avowed. I think we're getting Indiana Jones. I think we're getting Aura. And like even like Stalker 2, that wasn't in this showcase, but like I think that got a release date of like September, which I think looks really good every time they show it. And it's been in development for a while. Development got pushed because of the war in Ukraine, and the developer is a Ukrainian developer, so yeah. So that wasn't here, but yeah, but like all 5 of those games, Hellblade, Indiana Jones, Avowed, Stalker, and I guess Aura, even though that's also not going to be on Xbox. It's going to be on PC. And I'm also not going to play it. But even if I'm not playing that, that's 5 games. That's good. So yeah, I'm excited. Just about all the games they showed here excite me. The highlight for me being Indiana Jones. Visually, I think it looks amazing. And yeah, I'm excited. I think Xbox, I feel like we say this every year, but I feel like Xbox has... I think they're going to put out more exclusives this year than I think maybe they've done in the past few years. And you know what? I'm excited to see what they have in store, because this is their time to shine. Nintendo's kind of slowing down this year to prepare for the next console. Sony's in a bit of a lull period. This is Xbox's time to shine. They're in 3rd place right now. This is their chance to move up. So yeah. This Developer Direct has got me excited for Xbox. That's cool. Next up, now I like wrestling, as you guys probably knew. I mentioned that earlier. 2 of the shows that I talked about earlier were wrestling documentaries. I also mentioned that I do a WrestleMania recap every April as a part of this show. So pardon my French if you're not into wrestling, but I want to talk about some wrestling. So, the Royal Rumble is coming up a week from yesterday. At the time recording, it was yesterday. A week from yesterday. You know what the fuck I mean. So yeah, that's coming up, and I'm excited. It is like the Royal Rumble is so much fun. And it's become even more fun because there's 2 of them now. And it's become even more fun because, the new creative team. Now, coming from Ringside News, this is also something I've seen all over Twitter. My Twitter feed's flooded with wrestling stuff. 2024 Royal Rumble poised to make WWE history. This is coming to us from Ringside News. The WWE Royal Rumble Premium Live event has already gotten a ton of anticipation, with the company traditionally featuring surprise entrants. In fact, the event is set to make history this year. The Royal Rumble Premium Live event will be taking place on January 27th, 2024 at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. There is a lot of hype for the event because surprise I can move on from that, just talking about why there's anticipation for the event. In the recent Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that the Royal Rumble is anticipated to become the most watched event in WWE history. The surge in Peacock subscribers attributed to the NFL broadcasting is a wild card playoff. My reading is shit. But broadcasting a wild card playoff game on the streaming service earlier in the month is expected to contribute to this milestone. Additionally, it was noted that the Royal Rumble is likely to become the most watched event in WWE history. The company will also have several legends on hand who will be in town for the premium live event. The Royal Rumble event will showcase both men's and... just running down what's on the card. So that's crazy. That apparently this year's Royal Rumble is going to be the biggest event in all of WWE. And why is that? Well, I don't know if you guys have noticed. I want to know, what Like, I have a lot of friends who are not into wrestling, you know. In fact, I can probably count the amount of people I know that are into wrestling on one hand. And one of them's me. But, why... I want to know what, like, a lot of my friends think of this who don't watch wrestling. But I think it's just because wrestling is in a boom period. Specifically, WWE, right now, is really hot, you know. There's a lot more eyes on it than normal. There's, like, objectively, it's been better than it's been in a really long time. Like, and I just think, like, it's on a boom. It's in a boom period. And last year's Royal Rumble, I remember, like, after the Royal Rumble match, I went on Twitter to go post about it. My feed was flooded with people posting about the Royal Rumble. From people who I don't normally see posting about wrestling. You know, people who I follow because they have YouTube channels about things completely unrelated. I saw them posting about the Royal Rumble, and I'm like, damn, a lot of people are watching, you know? And I think, yeah, I like that. I like that, that wrestling is, big again. It's not as big as it... Oh, shit. Just dropped my phone. It's not as big as it was back in, like, the rock and wrestling, like, the 90s, you know, with Hulk Hogan. And definitely not as big as it was in the Attitude Era with, like, Stone Cold and The Rock. You know, I don't think it'll ever reach those heights again. But, like, that's kind of a high bar. Like, the fact that I can mention, like, where we are right now in comparison to that, I think says a lot. Now I want to actually give some predictions as to who I think is going to win the Royal Rumble matches, but I don't know, just because, not that I don't know who's going to win, it's actually quite the opposite. For both matches, it's like, there's two options, and I'd be surprised if it's anyone else other than those two for both matches. For the women's, it's either Bayley or it's Becky Lynch. And for the men's, it's either Cody Rhodes or CM Punk. You know, I would be shocked if it's anyone else, you know. So yeah, that's the Royal Rumble. It's apparently going to be the biggest event in WWE history, and I'm interested to see how that plays out. So yeah, next up, something that came out, like, earlier this week, or last week now, I guess. Ubisoft. They recently put out Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, you know, which has gotten some rave reviews and gotten people actually high on Ubisoft, which, this isn't going to be the topic, but I pre-ordered that fucking game, and it hasn't arrived yet. It keeps getting pushed, it keeps getting delayed, and it's really fucking annoying. I'm like... So yeah, I probably won't review it. Sorry, I just hit the... But I probably won't review it. Because by the time I get it, I don't know if, like, it'll be worth reviewing. But yeah, that sucks. But anyways, Ubisoft, they're a company that I feel like kind of just exists. And it wasn't until recently where, like, they put out Prince of Persia, and it's like, yo, Ubisoft put out a good game. Like, a really good game. And they also have Star Wars Outlaws coming out this year, which I think looks great. So yeah, I'm excited for Ubisoft games now. It hasn't happened in a while. But now the executive at Ubisoft said players should feel comfortable not owning their games. I'm reading off of CBR. In an interview with Trembly outlined... Oh no, Trembly's like the... I should probably read... So, Ubisoft's director of subscriptions, Philippe Trembly, stirred up controversy after suggesting that gamers should feel comfortable with not owning their games. In an interview with Games Industry, Trembly outlined the company's plan to cater more flexibly to gamer demands, alongside Ubisoft Plus Premium, which allows early and day one access to new titles. This included adding the Ubisoft Plus Classic subscription plan, giving access to back catalog titles like Far Cry 6 for $8. And yeah, as Tremblay describes, this is all part of Ubisoft's vision to direct gamers to subscription plans. And an end quote. One of the things we saw is that gamers are used to a little bit like DVD, having and owning their games. That's the consumer shift that needs to happen. They got comfortable not owning their CD collection or DVD collection. That's a transformation that's been a bit slower to happen in games. Tremblay continued, or Tremblay, I was saying it wrong, it's Tremblay. Tremblay continued, as gamers grow comfortable in that aspect, you don't lose your progress. If you resume your game at another time, your progress file is still there. That's not been deleted. You don't lose what you've built in the game or your engagement with the game. So it's about feeling comfortable with not owning your game. So this sparked controversy over just because it's like, you know, this type of statement sparks controversy. And I want to specify, I said this earlier, unless it comes to Game Pass, unless it's a game on Game Pass, because I can just get it for free, I buy my games physical, you know. Sometimes I'll be forced to, like, if the game's digital only, like Alan Wake 2, I didn't wait for a physical version of that game. I bought it digitally. But there's no digital version. I really wanted to play that game, so I bought it. But like, you know, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, I could just cancel it, my order that's taking forever to arrive. I could just cancel that, and fucking nose is itchy. Could just cancel that and buy it digitally, so I'll have it like immediately. I don't want to do that. I want to play the game, but like, I want it physically, because it's like, you actually have it. But that's my opinion on, you know, physical games. What's my opinion on what he said? Well, I feel like, first of all, this is being blown a little bit out of proportion. Yeah, coming from a fan of physical media, it's being blown a little bit out of proportion, just because they are kind of, like, everyone's kind of acting like he just said, like, 8 racial slurs, right? He did not. He said that people should be comfortable without owning their games. And I say, like, okay, this is gonna, like, completely contradict what I just said about this being blown out of proportion, but I say, fuck that! Alright? Look. Yes, this happened with music and with movies and television, you know. They were on CDs or DVDs, but now they're all being streamed. By the way, it's no wonder that the head of their streaming service is saying this. Of course he's fucking saying that, but like, yes, that happened with movies. DVDs don't exist anymore, pretty much. I'm surprised this laptop I'm using actually fucking, yeah, it actually has a disc drive. You know, I got this in 2016. That wasn't when DVDs and Blu-ray players were completely fucking obsolete, but like, they were being phased out, you know. But yeah, DVDs, you know, it's all about streaming now. You know, all the movies you want to watch are available digitally, whether it be they're on streaming services, excuse me, whether it's they're on streaming services or they're on like paid, like they're on like a VOD, you know, where you buy the movie. Video games are a bit different though. I feel like streaming a video game and streaming a movie are two different things. You know, movies, like, I love movies, but they are you watch them. Video games, you play them. So that way, like, an internet connection will affect the game more. The game needs to be updated. Maybe, like, at a certain point, the game won't be, like, accessible, at least in the way it is. You know what I mean? So, making them physical is a way to preserve them, you know? This may or may not have been for a video I was making, but, Angry Birds. This is a very weird, analogy or comparison I'm bringing up. Angry Birds, though, Angry Birds Star Wars, I believe, is no longer available on the App Store. I could be wrong, though. But there was one of the Angry Birds games. They put on consoles, like, they're on Xbox 360, PS3, Wii U, 3DS, all those. They're on those consoles, but that Angry Birds game is not on the App Store anymore. But that game is reserved now because it's on, because it's on fucking Xbox 360, Angry Birds is reserved, you know? So, that's one thing. Plus, it's like, you physically own the game. Even if, like, I know, like, if, let's just say you buy a game digitally, and then your console breaks, you know? You get a new console, you get your account carried over, so all your purchases are there as well. Your game should still be there. Maybe your save isn't there, which, that's another thing. Your save probably won't be there, but, like, even then, even if it is there, it's still, like, it doesn't feel like you own the game. You know, I rearranged my game collection. For a while, I had all my PS5 games and my Xbox games stacked on top of each other. That was always supposed to be a temporary thing, but it just became the way I stored them for a while. But now I moved stuff around, and I made room for a shelf to put those games on there, and it's just so cool to have, you know? So I think physical media, physical games, is physical media going away? Yeah. The conversation, when that conversation comes up, it's always like, it always turns into a conversation of which is better, physical media or digital media. But no one ever argues with the fact that physical media is going away, because it is. It's going away. Physical games will one day go away. I don't think it's as, like, soon, as fast approaching as I feel like a lot of people are saying it is. Like, I've heard some people say that this console generation is the last generation with physical versions, like with disc drives, because there's the digital only versions as well. I'm not sure, because this could bite me in the ass. This could end up not being true, because I'm not, like, certain that, like, physical gaming is not going away anytime soon. I'm not sure about that, but, like, I just think there's just, I don't know, like, making, like, games being digital only is very different from, like, a movie being digital only. You know what I mean? That's just what I think. And, look, even if games become digital only, just as long as it's not all about streaming services, that would suck. I don't, like, because playing games through the cloud, like, that being the only way you play games, I think would suck. You know? Because then you always need an internet connection, you know, and that's just gonna suck. But yeah, that's what I think about what the Ubisoft exec said. And yeah, that will be this episode of the podcast. DPX Talks for about an hour. welcome back. I'm happy that the podcast is back. I didn't think I was gonna do an episode this month. Not that I didn't want to, but I thought I wasn't gonna come around to it. I had some other episodes planned or other topics planned, but I didn't get around to them. I think the show ranking at the beginning took a while. But yeah, I'll hopefully I'm trying to stick to it. I'll be back next month. But yeah, so be sure, if you're on YouTube, go to my SoundCloud DPX Talks for about an hour, or Spotify for podcasters. I don't know if I've announced that. I think I might have. But yeah, I'm on Spotify now. Spotify for podcasters. Go there and give me a follow. You know, go listen to me on there, because, hey, these episodes go up on the audio versions before they go up on YouTube, you know. It takes a while for it to render on YouTube. It takes like 2 seconds for it to render. Like, it takes like 2 seconds for the audio-only version to render. It takes quite a while for the YouTube version to render. So, yeah, go up on, go to SoundCloud, go to Spotify for podcasters, go and search DPX Talks for about an hour, and support me there. And yeah, we'll be back in a month with another episode of DPX Talks for about an hour. Hopefully I'll get a guest on here. Bye!